Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's XAUUSD Securities webinar, live forex market review. Thank you for your patience. So let's get into it. Please read through the risk disclaimer now. If you're on our YouTube live stream, I cannot see the chat, so there's no point chatting to me. I can't see your questions, but you're more than welcome to come into the webinar and join us. So you can chat. I've given you the link there in the chat. So welcome everybody, just read through the disclaimer. Any questions to the chat box or question box? All right, just waiting for a few more people to come in. So just read through the disclaimer. Market's been very active in the early start of the London session. All right, that should be enough for the disclaimer. So if you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor here at XAUUSD Securities. And I'm a full-time forex trader. I've been trading the forex market now for more than 15 years. I'm mentoring for more than 10. If you want to contact me, my email is there on screen, duncan.cooper@acy.com. You can connect me through the week at our website, acy.com. Go to the market news tab, get my analysis there, or on our YouTube channel, XAUUSD Securities Australia. Or you can connect with me on Twitter and LinkedIn there. And if you're new to trading, you may find some resources, some free resources on my handles there. So that's worth going over there and checking out. As well, if you want to get access to our analysis through the week, there's our Telegram channel. Simply contact Nathan.bray. He will happily give you access to that. Plus as well, if you want to get access to my chart layouts and templates for MT4, then he will organize that for you too. And if you have any questions about opening an account or just setting up a demo account, either or, he's the guy to go and contact. So I'll just put his details in the chat. There we go. All right. So let's get into what news is coming out for the day before we get to the charts. So we do have tonight, these times at my time, Queensland time, 10:30 p.m. We have final GPQQ coming out for the US at 10:30, unemployment claims, and then nothing much till then, same time tomorrow evening. We've got the US core PC price index and Canadian GDP figures. So that's what's coming out for the day. So that's the risk event coming up at 10:30 p.m. All right, let's get to the charts now. We've been having a very, very healthy rush up. Just want to have a look at the euro dollar. I was anticipating we're going to have a day down today, but no, having another day up. And on the pound dollar, we've had a day down and now we're having a day up. So we are very high levels, but I was anticipating we're going to get a reversal today, but we may still, but definitely been having a very strong move up. So let's just have a look at the dollar index. Now, we have actually had a day up just, and we've almost had another day down. Did a video today looking at this as maybe in this area forming the potential of a higher bottom. We'll see what happens, what transpires over the next few days in that area. Can we form a higher bottom? At the moment, early in the day, we were starting to go up. Now, later in the middle of the day, we're going down. So, from the weekly perspective, we have a higher top here, and this is a pullback to somewhere. Can we put in a higher bottom on the weekly chart or not? We may, we can trade down through and break the low that we formed, but we have a fraction of a higher top. So are we going to form a higher bottom? We rejected the 79% level last week on the weekly. And are we trying here to form a higher bottom? So it's worth monitoring to see if you can start to see the higher bottom forming. If we see the higher bottom forming, we're probably going to see a topping out process on the pairs to the US dollar. But euro dollar is still strong today. Couldn't break the low of yesterday in Asia, and then it's broken the high. It's gone all the way back up and broken the high yesterday. So it's very volatile at the moment. All right, the S&P 500, whilst the monthly trend here is still down, there's a lower top, lower bottom, and that's potentially a lower top there. On the weekly and daily charts, it's very choppy. We know we keep having all these risk items, banks are collapsing, and then they come in and bail things out. And I think they've also been printing some money, and then the market's turning back around. So it is not easy on the S&P 500 at the moment. Now the weekly, so the monthly is down, but the weekly potentially here is putting in another bottom there, and that is a higher top. So maybe this is coming up this way, but you know, that's a top there forming or formed. This is potentially a monthly top here that's forming to be a lower top. So things are a little bit uneven between the time frames, and the daily, whilst it was in a downtrend at the moment, theoretically now that's a higher bottom and it's trying to break above this top. This line up here, 4104, is the monthly resistance area, which we keep holding out. So whilst we may be seeing some positivity at the moment, to see long-term positivity, we need to clearly shift above 4104. All right, whilst that's the monthly range, just going to drag that over. We have a range here to monitor now. And 79% of that decline down is at that resistance level that we've been failing at since September. So we failed it here, here, here. So whilst we may be seeing some upticking at the moment, I'm not that convinced that we're going to go long-term higher, because we need to significantly break a level that we keep failing at. So we're a little bit choppy and range bound. Keep shifting from downtrend to uptrend there on the daily. So I don't know, is a long-term trend going to unfold here? I don't know, but it really needs to show some strength above 4104 there. And we're about 60 points away. So watch that level through the course of the next week. If we get up to that level and we fail once more, that's just a selling level for the sellers up there to trade back down. And we could just stay rather range bound. We could trade up to this level, trade back down to support, trade back up there. We could just be range bound for a while as the market uncertainty keeps unfolding. All right. All right, so a little bit mixed. Dollar index was trying to be positive early in the day. Now it's gone negative, and that S&P 500 has a positive bid to it at the moment. So I want to head over to the euro dollar. It is at the high of yesterday. Now, we had a nice sell-off last week, Thursday, Friday. We failed after the FOMC at the 79% level of this high to low. The healthy sell-off, and now we're reclaiming that sell-off. So are we going to continue up? Are we going to trade above this high here? Or is that a significant high? That's the question I'm asking myself. So I just want to drop down to this 4-hour chart. I've been monitoring this range. Now yesterday it was starting to want to fail around about the 62 area, but quite clearly in early trading in London, we popped straight back up. So testing the high yesterday here, 79% level of that drop down last week is at 108.82. And I'm just going to drop down to 1-hour chart. There's a number of imbalances formed after the FOMC statement. So this was a rush up after the FOMC, traded up to the high where we've obviously had a very healthy sell-off from that level. So up here is very high because that was a clear sell-off. The price is coming up at the moment to fill. There was an imbalance form, two imbalances. I'm just joining together. When we came down, we formed an imbalance there. So we're coming up to fill that imbalance. All right. So once we may not fill the entire balance, we may not get up to that 79% level, but that 79% level overlaps exactly with the top of that imbalance. So just monitoring. It's too high up for me to buy at the moment. So I'm not just going to buy where it is. You know, if we're going to continue up and take out this top, you really should have gotten in a bought position by now. So I'm just monitoring, was that a key sell-off? Is this corrective to continue down? We'll have to wait and see, but I'm just watching this area here. So I don't need to drag that across the imbalance. We're filling it right now, trying to, and the top of it is pretty much the 79% level. And what I want to do, I'm just going to put a fib across. Well, I just want to reference where that high is. So that's yesterday's high, because we may not be able to live above yesterday's high. That's close enough for yesterday's high. I would just be watching yesterday's high at the moment. We started through New York to sell off yesterday. And through Asia, it was starting to look like we were going to break down, but we couldn't break the lower yesterday. And of course, popped above the high. But this move up here, somebody's driving price up to the sell orders here. All right. Often when you get these very sharp moves, it's a move up to fill or to get price up so we can fill sell orders that's sitting up there. All right. When price is moving up steadily, when it's moving up steadily, there's every chance that we can keep moving up. All right. Like so, like a staircase. But when we go like that, it's usually getting driven up to where all the orders are, and then it comes straight back down. All right, so we've had a very impulsive move up there at the start of London. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it start to falter at the high of yesterday and then start to move back down the range. So you can look to see if you can see a setup, your setup to sell up here. Of course, at the moment, it is above yesterday's high, but if it starts to want to falter, you might see a trend line break, a reversal back down the range as well. I'll be monitoring that 79% level up there, 108.82, what happens up there. Now, we may just continue straight up and want to challenge the high that we formed last week. But we are definitely some levels there that the market could reverse down from. All right, I want to head over to the euro again now, and this is at a very critical level to the day chart. I wasn't expecting such a high move up this week. I was maybe thinking we would come back down and test the lows of last week, but we're coming back up to a very critical level where we keep failing at this area over here, which I'm going to go to the weekly chart. This area here, it's actually a monthly top. This monthly top here. It was a key area last year where the market kept failing at, and we're coming straight back to it today. We're pretty much at it right now. All right, as I'm talking, we're right at that level. And that whole range has been very volatile. There's been 500 pip moves on some of these candles. And we false broke weekly support here. And we're back up to monthly resistance. So this would, it's very volatile at the moment. I'm just going to sell it here. But if I start to see price action want to falter and maybe start to want to move back below 144, if I can see a tight entry, it may well be worth looking at this level for a reversal. You can see 4 trading days here, 1, 2, 3, 4 that rejected that level. While it traded above, quite highly above on 2 days, it was rejecting that level there. All right, so back to a known level of rejection. So with that in mind, just monitoring that level. And also what we're doing is we're filling that this very swift drop. This whole imbalance here is getting filled by the market. All right, that imbalance, what's left of it is just there. So we're coming all the way back up to complete the imbalance, we're trying to at the moment, all the way back up to that monthly resistance level. So this is a very good level to watch for reversal. Not seeing anything showing a reversal at the moment. All right. Although we touched that level on the last candle, we are starting to sell down. So I'll just be starting to watch to see if we can start to see a price action failure. Over the next couple of days, do we start to see structure that's telling us that we are failing there or not? Okay. All right, so that's what I'm watching on the euro yen. Let's go to the pound dollar, pound crosses. Now, the negative day yesterday, I've been looking at this 79% level of this whole range as a potential failure level, this weekly chart. Until we take out these double top highs, he's still in the downtrend. This is all corrective. We're watching the 79% level for failure. I mean, we were failing it earlier in the day at that level. However, we're back above it. I mean, maybe we're going to take these highs out. So, but the weekly trend there is down at the moment until we take those highs. And we did have a negative reversal yesterday up at these high levels. Lots of resistance over here. This level I've got drawn in, 123.91. So your monthly chart is this low area over here. That when we created the double top on the weekly chart, we obviously couldn't live above that level. So on my day chart, I've got it there at 123.91. So we could get up to that level. You can see to the left, when we were last there, we created 4-day chart tops in that area to move down from it. So it's a definite level that the market will be watching. All right, so we've actually a day down and a day up today. It's getting very choppy up here. And that means the buyers and the sellers are having a fight up here. Some part of the selling market wants to sell it down from here. Part of the market wants to buy it up. And we often get this choppy price action at critical areas where we will often get a change in trend. But at the moment, there's just a fight going on. So now there's the high of yesterday. 123.61, that's close enough. You can see there, the last 3 candles of trying to move above and they can't. Maybe we're holding there to trade all the way back down. So can you see you're set up to sell down from that very high level up there? Are we topping out? As I said before, when we get these very parabolic moves, be it up or down, the market's getting driven up to where all the orders are, where all the institution large orders are. All right. If this is going to hold here, it's being held by large orders up there. The only people at the moment buying above there are people that are short, retail traders that are short and getting stopped out on a trade, or they think price is moving above here, so retail traders are buying. And you see 3 candles of trade above and starting to sell off. So that's a critical level to watch today, yesterday's high. Can you start to see a trend line break up here, or whatever your setup is to sell, to give you a trigger to trade down from that level? We're at very high levels at the moment on the pound. All right. I'm going to head over to the Aussie pairs. Oh, in fact, I haven't done the pound yen yet, so let's get into that one. This is very choppy, very range bound. Just highlighted the high areas of the month that have been forming up here. So from that top over here, this may have been in February, this top, but these highs here in March, there's a resistance area up here. So we're very much consolidatory. I'm just drawing in where I feel the overall range is at the moment. All right. So we'll come up to the top of the range. This top of the range area here that I'm creating for myself is all this old support here. So just watching up there to see what price does. As I say, the pound's at very high levels. If that has a significant sell-off, then we could see it sell off from down there. Edwin, I can see on there, you're looking at these pound pairs. What's your opinion? Do you think we're at high levels, or do you just think we're going to break up and through? All right, the 4-hour chart. So at the moment, we're trading up there. Now I went through the 100 pip trade entry yesterday. You know, that 164.23 level is a great level to look at a possible reversal. That would be a great level for a 100 pip trade entry up there. Top of the range, can it trade back down to the bottom of the range? All right, or just, you know, this come to fill that imbalance there. What's going to happen up here? So just watch price action up here for a failure. This is not where, you know, you're seeing price heading up at the moment. I'm talking about selling and prices moving up, but that is not where you want to be buying. You do not want to be buying at significant highs. Okay. This is where people, if they've traded down here, are taking their profits up here. All right. So just watch this area up here, 163.75 up to 164.23. It's about a 50 pip range there at the top there. What's going to happen up there? Commodity 15-minute chart. Do you start to see a reversal set up there that you like the look of? All right, so we'll go back to the pound. Pound's just putting in a very negative 50-minute candle there. And let's just have a look at the euro dollar again. What's that doing? Euro dollar can't hold yesterday's high either. All right, so we've definitely been driven up to the highs. Is this just a complete washout of retail traders, buy stops? We'll see. So Edwin's telling me he's on the sell side of the pound. The euro just shorted the euro as it passed through yesterday's high. Yeah, I mean, I know it's in an uptrend on your 4-hour chart and the 50-minute chart there and the 1-hour chart, but I mean, that is very high up there. Like that, you know, if that drops 100 pips today, that's well worth holding that position for the long term. All right, good luck. Well, good luck with that one. See how it goes. All right, let's get over to the Aussie yen. Now, the day chart trend here is down. We are definitely bouncing off a month. These are 2 monthly lows here. Monthly low there. And you need to go to your monthly chart really to see this resistance. Sorry, this support. We're in a downtrend on the monthly, hitting monthly support levels here. So we're having a bounce. And the weekly trend is down here. Coming up to last week's high. Now, last week's high could be a very good level to see price just spike above last week's high and then reverse back down. We've actually just hit 88, and so we might not get there. And on the day chart, lower top, lower bottom, we're in the 62 to 79% area here at the moment. All right, 4-hour top here. I like last week's high here, lining up with that 79% level, 89.30. So 89.23 up to 89.30. Whether or not it can get there, maybe failing 88. Sorry, maybe failing at 89 at the moment. But so 2 tests at 89 today, and it's just starting to tail off a bit. You can work out whether you want to watch a failure up at that level. Aussie dollar. Now, I was watching the figure, put this out on Telegram today, because we significantly failed there twice intraday yesterday. But with the market driving up, this is where when you see, or you know, if you're just looking at one pair and you've got your level in that you're looking to trade at, and you're just looking at one pair and not looking at what all the other pairs to the US dollar are doing, then you know you might trade here and it starts going against you. It's fine if you've got a larger stop because we just traded up to daily resistance. But this is the same drive up that we're seeing on the other pairs, and we've simply failed at daily chart resistance. Let's just get that fib off for a moment. Where we've been failing for the last 2 weeks. All right, this is why it's so important to get a very sound understanding of market structure, because once you know what the structure is and you know where price keeps failing at, it's been failing for the last 2 or 3 weeks at 67.16. All right. Now, it would be nice. We were yesterday, you can see here, filling at the figure, filling at the figure. We've obviously popped above there. It would be, if you've sold up there, you need the figure to break now. You don't want the figure to be support. So over the next day, can we move below the figure? Did we once more see the figure be resistance like it was over here to move back down? All right, if you start to see the figure being support over the next 24 hours, we could well move above 67.16. But in the short term, today, we could see price come back up to retest. We've got some news coming out later in the day. So that would be still the level to watch for a further failure. Okay. Euro pound, very range bound. Nothing's much changing in my mindset. I put this here on Tuesday. I'm still looking down here at 87.54. That's the double top area, double bottom area here. And then we had this false break. So we could form a potential inverted left shoulder, head, right shoulder at that level if we got down there. So I'm just watching that level at the moment. So my mindset isn't really changing. Can we get down there? Clearly at the moment, support's coming in ahead of that level. But this would be my most desired level to trade at if we could get down to the 79% level, 87.57, and day support there at 87.54. So can we get down there? All right, we've covered the euro yen. All right, that monthly level, it's trading pretty much to the pip to that level. That's why it's so critical to understand where all these significant highs are, because it wouldn't surprise me to now that weekly trend here, whilst we've rushed up this week, the weekly trend, when we went down last week, we broke the weekly trend to down. So this is rushing all the way back up. All right, but that's a lower bottom. Are we coming up all the way back up to monthly resistance over here to form over time a lower top there on the weekly chart? All right. So there's still that fraction of an imbalance there that hasn't yet been filled, and had that 79% level drawn in. All right, so there's a fraction above the 79, but if we start moving, wanting to form resistance at 144, if we can break back below 144, we'll be starting to move down from monthly resistance. We've just filled an imbalance, and we're at the 79% level of the weekly range there. So I'm just waiting for, what are you waiting for that to start to show you that maybe that key level up there is holding and wants to reverse? All right. Could trade 100 pip trade entry that went through last night, or you can wait for a lower time entry. What's going to tell you that we're filling up there? All right, euro dollar, it's having a nice sell-off from yesterday's high. Pound yen, covered the pound crosses already. Pound dollars had a nice trade down. New Zealand yen, now it's not wanting to hold at this weekly resistance level. It's actually became a little bit of support today. So we are trading within last week's range. So let's just go to the higher time frame. I don't like the fact that today we've sat on top of that support level and popped up. On the day chart perspective, there's trend is down and there's the large day chart range. So we could be coming up to 79% level, meeting these lows here. Just monitoring to see what it's doing. At the moment, it's getting support on that weekly level at 8231 today. So tried to be resistance, but ultimately now it's become support and it's moving up. So really, you could be starting to watch. So when I put my video out on this pair yesterday, I said This level is either going to act as resistance or it's going to act as support. It did become resistance for a little bit, but ultimately today it's become support. So if it moves down, first of all, you have to see this level to be support once more now to move back up. So that would be a level to watch for support now, 82.31. Although, you know, we're obviously 60 pips away from that level at the moment. So if we do get a dip down, now you have to ask yourself, is that going to be support for a move higher? All right, I'm going to buy up here, close to the high of the day. And I don't know if that's just all corrective at the moment from that day chart perspective. So not seeing a setup to do anything at the moment, but you could certainly watch 82.31 to be support now. Move up. And as you're saying, look like we're pulling back on the pound dollar. Yep, I've got it on my other screen. I can see on the 15-minute chart it's pulling back, so we'll be pulling back on the 1 hour too. We may well, by the end of, where are we now? By the end of the 1 hour, we could see a very sharp 1 hour rejection candle at the top there. All right, New Zealand dollar. Now, very range bound. We're filling at 62% retracement area there of the move down of yesterday. But just have a quick look at the daily. Look at it, it's very range bound. Like the New Zealand dollar and the Aussie dollar at the moment are very predictable in terms of them being in a range. Yesterday, we came all the way back up pretty much to the resistance level, 67.70, that low there. Amazing. And then sold back down. So from that reversal candle of yesterday, now drawing a fib across the candle, we went down to a lower bottom. I'd much prefer to be selling up here at 79 level rather than 62, but it seemingly at the moment we're reversing from the 62 there. I'd much prefer to be a seller here, placing your stop above yesterday's high. That would be it's always my preferred level, 79 rather than 62. But it looks like we're filling at the 62 there. So we could be moving back down for the day from, this could be the high of the day. But depending on what the US news does, there's still a bit of an imbalance over here that hasn't been filled. All the imbalance to that high there. All right, so we may pop up to the 79% level, a little bit higher to fill all that imbalance before continuing down. So I would be watching up here for a possible failure. And I can be watching on a day where I'm watching areas and price doesn't get to my areas. I'm quite happy with that. I like to be getting in where imbalances get filled, because they often get filled, and at the 79% area level of the range. Okay, so we're not quite getting there at the moment. Dollar Canadian. Now, this has been very range bound, holding on support for 2 or 3 weeks, but clearly that range that I had highlighted in there has been broken. So let's just shift it to the day chart and to the weekly chart. Now this isn't an uptrend on the weekly here. So I've been quite a significant sell-off this week. So I would just be monitoring what this does at the moment. This could come back up to the broken support now. You know, it could come back up. This could be, you know, wanting to search down to the 62 level. And just below that 62 level is a nice area of support here. All right. So the market may well be searching for that level. The weekly trend is up, so this is just corrective against the weekly at the moment. But we could well be searching down to this level. And before we can get to that level, price may want to, you know, come back up to here. So I will be watching that level for resistance to trade down to support. If the market will offer a rally, I would definitely, you know, until we get to support here, I would watch for a rally back up to resistance, then trade down to support. If we trade down to support, then I'm not interested in that level. I would be watching this level then to hold to trade all the way back up. All right, so we don't have any days up, but I'm just monitoring what price is down there at 134.75 and the 62 level at 134.90. All right. Dollar franc. All right. Like its kind of cousin, this is the upside down version of the euro dollar, general terms. It's nowhere near as weak. You know, euro dollar is taking out the high there. But this, you know, it's not taking out these lows. And I've been discussing the possibility of a double bottom on the day chart down here. And as this low has come in and had a massive run up and then starting to correct back down, there's a possibility here of a left shoulder inverted head, right shoulder formation here. So I'm just waiting to see if we can revisit 91.37. Because that's where all the buyers have been buying. All right. And we might not get down there, but that would be my preferred level. You could also monitor the 79% retracement where we're pretty much at right now. But my preferred option would be 91.37. Watching that level. What happens down there? Does price hold? Do you see it set up to trade back up? All right. Very consolidated at the moment, dollar franc, but it is holding at support. All right. Not much changing there on dollar franc this week. Dollar yen. Now this has had a very nice bounce at weekly support. It's coming up to try to test this day chart resistance up here. Were the resistances that high at 132.99 or this high over here? A couple of highs over there, but I'm using the most recent high there. Now I did say on Tuesday, were we forming a little head and shoulder pattern there? Clearly we did. So this is way overextended from that pattern, almost at the 162 extension level. So that's overextended. So I would expect this to have a pullback. So I would, you know, yes, price can continue up, but we may well see a failure here. I want to put in that other daily level. 132.898. Whether or not we can, there we go, we've pretty much got to that level, but there's a nice area of day resistance there that the market may falter at to trade back down in the short term, back down to 131.11. This is very overextended, and I'll be drawing my 4-hour fib like so at the moment, and be watching this to trade back down. Can it trade back down? You know, the trend potentially may be moving to the upside now here on the dollar yen. So that's a very impulsive 4-hour move up. I will be watching for that 62 or the 79 area here, lining up with day support there. That would be the next buying opportunity that we'll be watching for, assuming that we're holding here to trade back down. All right, I'm not going to buy where it is. It's too overextended. So I have to just monitor a pullback and see whether that pullback comes around. All right, let's have a look at gold. And that's what I drew in. You know, could it get up to the higher reaches of resistance or down to support? And it's just chopping around on top of this level here at the moment. So I'm not seeing anything to do there, other than if you're prepared to be a buyer, I guess you could be looking to be buying on support. You've had a couple of chances over the last 2 trading days. You could be buying at 19.59, stop below, with the anticipation that this area is going to act as support to move up. All right, that's the kind of option you have here at the moment. Support is definitely down the 4-hour chart. So you could be watching 19.59. Does price give you that opportunity to trade to that level once more? You can be buying, stop below that area to trade up to the next level of weekly resistance at 19.98. This is acting as support at the moment. Are we trading back up to test 1998? If we get up to 1998 and starts to hold, the anticipation, that's going to move back down again. It's rather choppy and range bound there at the moment. It's clearly respecting 1959. Can it move up to 1998? All right, so a bit choppy at the moment, some of these instruments. Some have moved all the way up, like the likes of the Euro yen, coming back up to test that level. For 2 days, it was holding at the lower level of resistance down here, but then had a massive day up yesterday. So what is it going to do at that level? I'm going to be watching that level over the next day. Can we hold at 144.26? Just coming up for another touch. So the euro dollar must be heading up. Euro dollar is coming back up to have another sniff at maybe yesterday's high. Are we going to fail there for the day? Pound dollar doesn't have as much legs in it as the euro dollar at the moment. Whilst that euro dollar is still trying to put a bid on that 50-minute candle, that euro dollar may have given up the ghost up there. All right, any questions? If you want me to go through a particular different pair or instrument, just shout it out before we finish for the week. As 100. All right, well, that's what we were looking at the other day. It's coming back up to test that level. Now, from a day chart perspective here, we could have a double top, but we are putting in a high bottom here. So it's coming up to test. And we did some work on that level, didn't we? Where we determined that it's a very strong level of resistance there. And 79% fib levels just above. What is the market going to do there? So are we going to see another reversal up there? Let's go to the 4-hour chart. You can be watching the 4-hour chart over the trading day. Now, if you start to see a 4-hour rejection up there today, it may well hold and trade back down. It's overextended there on the 4-hour chart for sure. So that's the critical level to watch at the moment. Do we start to see a failure there? Pretty much the 1289 level. And it's going to head back to gold. Got a question about, is there a triangle forming on gold? What time frame are you seeing your triangle there, Anthony? Oh, I see what you're saying. So it's quite a broad looking triangle, isn't it? And we're right in the middle of it, which, I don't like the fact that we're right in the middle of it. Whilst I'm analyzing it and saying we could be holding on support there to move up to test the high level of resistance, I don't particularly like the instrument at the moment. It's not in a good place and it's rather choppy. But, if you want to trade gold, of course, at the moment, 1959 is support. And, this triangle that I'm drawing in there, was definitely the triangle there in the daily. And, there's potentially a smaller one there on the 4-hour. All right. Like so. So you could be waiting for a breakout to the upside, seemingly getting, you can see all those support lows coming in, which are higher, set for one, but that's higher to there. So it's going to break one way or the other. It is sitting on top of support there. So are we going to see a break to the upside? the break's the downside though. I don't like it when prices get, when it gets so narrow, you get these large swings getting into smaller swings. This is the market's uncertain. It doesn't know which way to go. All right. That's why I say if I was looking for something to trade, I would go and look at something else because I don't know which way it's going to break. And I don't really like the idea of being a buyer at such high levels on gold because of the monthly picture here, where we could be forming a lower top. We've moved up from a lower bottom, and we could be forming a lower top up here. We're very high priced up here. So do you want to be a buyer at such a high price? But if you trade gold, I don't trade gold, so I don't need to make that decision. If you like the breakout, you can trade the breakout, but we are very high prices there. All right. But I haven't been listening. I've been seeing economists saying that gold's gone to 4,000. All right. So if it's gone to 4,000, it's cheap, isn't it? But can't get above 2,000. So it has to break 2,000 before it can get to 4,000. So it's definitely getting ready to break one way or the other. Which way is it going to break? Okay. Same with these stock market indices. Are they just moving up for the next move down? That's a great level there on the Nasdaq. I mean, I know that's got a higher bottom, but that is not where I would be buying. So, if you see a clear sell set up forming in that area, there's a clear resistance there at the moment. If you wanted to be a buyer on the Nasdaq longer term, you need to see price move through there. You need it to become support for the market to move up. Now, we're not seeing that at the moment. All we're seeing is it failed there. See when it broke below. So see here, it did it there. It moved above the area and became support to move higher. But then it came below and became resistance. So at the moment, it's still resistance here at the moment. If you want to be a buyer, you need to see structure change at that area. All right, so you can monitor that. I'm saying, is there a psychological level on gold at 2,000 maybe? Well, yeah, it's a very psychological number, isn't it? So if you go back to gold there, there's that double top up there. It got a little bit above. It has traded above 2,000, but it can't live above 2,000 at the moment. So 2,000 is exceptionally expensive. That's where the market thinks it's very expensive. All right, and we obviously moved back up, but are we going to form a lower top on that monthly chart? If we're going to clearly move above 2,000, we need to blow through 2,000 nicely, clearly, and then pull back, and 2,000 becomes support. At the moment, all 2,000 can be is resistance. And Anthony asking me about the Nasdaq. No, I don't trade Nasdaq myself. I think Azu, he's been asking me about the Nasdaq. He's short the Nasdaq at the moment, so he's obviously wanting their resistance to hold. So no, I don't personally trade the Nasdaq, but I mean you can trade it. All right, everybody. If there's any more questions, just put them in before we conclude. Just to give you a heads up as we're coming to the end of the week. Heading into a new month next week. Times for the webinars are changing to 7 p.m. New South Wales time now. So depending on where you are in the world, if you're just in New South Wales, webinars now start at 7. I'm in Queensland, so nothing's changing for me. It's always 7 o'clock for me. And then wherever you might be in the world, you have to work out what that means to you. If your clocks aren't changing, then nothing's really changing. It's only if your clocks are changing. So if you're in New South Wales, your clocks are changing, and we're moving to a new time for New South Wales. But for me, my clocks aren't changing, so nothing's changing for me. So if you're, say, in the UK and your clocks aren't changing at the moment, whatever time it started today for you, it's starting at the same time next week. All right. So 7 p.m. Sydney time, webinars from next week. So more live market analysis next Tuesday, which is here. And I'll do my normal review of trade setups that were happening through the course of the month that's about to finish. So it's good to review what the market did last month. Might give you a very good heads up about what the market might do this month. So it's good to take snapshots of great setups that did occur that you can look at in hindsight, and can you see them setting up next time as foresight. Okay. So that's what's happening next Wednesday, and more analysis next Thursday. So we're almost at the end of a month, and maybe we're going to have a month up next month. Maybe we're going to blow through the high areas that we're testing at the moment and continue up. All right, maybe all this jostling that we're getting at the moment is just waiting to blow through the highs next month. We'll just have to wait and see. Or maybe we're going to reverse February. We had a significant month down, and March we pretty much claimed most of it all the way back up. Next month, are we going to continue up, or are we simply going to go all the way back down like we did in February and keep this kind of seesaw effect going on in the market at the moment? We'll just have to wait and see. What you need to do though is have a clear idea of what your setup is and the trading levels that you want to trade around, and then you just waiting for a setup that you're happy to trade. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks very much for your company this evening. Hopefully you got some information there that you can work with over the next few days. Other than that, have a great end to the week, great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.